Well, hello, everyone. I am Tommy Lahren, along with Rich Edson, Lisa Booth, and Tom Shalhoub. Welcome to the Big Weekend Show. And the big story tonight is a Fox News alert. President Trump issues a dire warning to Iran today, telling the regime they have 48 hours to make a deal and open the Strait of Hormuz before, quote, all hell will rain down. This comes following the president's March 26 comments when he gave Iran 10 days to make a deal or face destruction of their energy plants. Trump emphasized this ultimatum during his address to the nation earlier this week.
If there is no deal, we are going to hit each and every one of their electric generating plants very hard and probably simultaneously. We have not hit their oil, but we could hit it and it would be gone, and there's not a thing they could do about it.
And this all comes as search and rescue operations are underway for an F-15E weapons system officer who went missing after the fighter jet was downed over Iran yesterday. It is still not clear if the crew member was able to eject before the crash. Alex Hogan is live from the White House with the latest details. Alex, what can you tell us?
Tommy, we know that the search is still underway for that missing U.S. service member after Iran shot down this F-15E fighter jet yesterday. And what we're looking at right now is that we do know that service members, American troops, were able to locate and find the pilot of that two-seater.
I have never been more proud to be an American than yesterday afternoon. We heard hours after one of the airmen ejected out of that jet that American forces, Special Operations Forces, went in and successfully found one of our soldiers.
We're seeing the real cost, and we've got an airman behind enemy lines trying to survive and trying to be rescued. And we should all think about him. We should also think about the 13 service members who have been killed and the hundreds who have been wounded.
The F-15E is one of the two downed American fighter jets yesterday. Iran also hit a second U.S. warplane. That pilot ejected over the Persian Gulf, and two Black Hawk helicopters involved in the rescue were damaged in Iranian fire. President Donald Trump highlighting his own deadline for Iran, saying that the country has just 2 days to make a deal and open up the Strait of Hormuz. Today, Senator Lindsey Graham says that he spoke to the president, writing, quote, we'll get more without. I think we've lost that element. But again, saying that there is a lot of pressure on the government to be able to finally open up the Strait of Hormuz. We know that there was this deadline of April 6th. So that, of course, is just 2 days from now. Tommy, we know that the president is here this weekend. We do not expect to see him or hear from him today. Back to you.
Alex Hogan, thank you so much. All right, 2 rescue helicopters were damaged by enemy fire when conducting the search. There are reported injuries to helicopter crew members, but they managed to land safely. Meanwhile, Israeli forces have halted strikes in Iran and are assisting the U.S. with intelligence to find that missing crew member. Joining us now, we're so happy to have retired U.S. Air Force Senior Master Sergeant and pararescueman Aaron Love. Master Sergeant, we are so thankful to have you and your expertise tonight. Can you walk us through how the search and rescue is likely being conducted, and walk us through what the dangers are that could be lurking for those service members that are actually conducting the rescue operation?
Thank you so much for having me on to talk about the greatness of the Air Force Rescue Triad that's currently looking for this downed American service member. Let me tell you, when a PR event like this happens, the world stops, the music stops, and one team gets that call. They are the gold standard for rescue. The United States Air Force combat rescue officers and pararescue operators are the #1 rescue force of choice for the entire Department of War. Every single thing that we can bring to bear to protect this pilot, to report, locate, support, recover, and then reintegrate this weapons system officer is being brought to bear right now. I can't tell you what the risk evaluation looks like inside of the rooms with the generals that are deciding when to let this mission go. I can only tell you that in the team rooms where they're checking their radios, checking their medical equipment, making sure this plan is locked down to the exact second, that risk assessment is going to go out the window. These teams live by the motto that others may live, meaning quite literally they will sacrifice themselves to get to a downed American service member, and that is what those teams are getting ready to do right now.
Master Sergeant, what kind of training goes into those teams that are going to go in to look for that pilot? And also, on the other end, do pilots train, or how much training do pilots go through for incidents that might happen like this?
Please call me Aaron. I'm retired. I appreciate the formality. Listen, just to become a pararescueman or a combat rescue officer, it's the longest pipeline in the Department of War. There's only about 200 active duty PJs that are working at any time today. It takes a 91% attrition rate out of the force. Only 9% of the people graduate that 2-year pipeline. It takes another year at your unit before you're ready to deploy. Most of these pararescue and combat rescue operators and the air crews that are associated with them have multiple combat deployments. They're constantly training for this mission. On the pilot or the WISO side of it, in this instance, the weapon system operator, this gentleman has had SEER training, survival, evasion, resistance, and escape training. They work closely with the rescue forces, the pararescue and combat rescue officers. They work with these pilots to let them know exactly what their actions should be on the ground, how to affect their own rescue, how to evade and hold what they've got until the cavalry can come in and affect the rescue. So everybody is working, from the SEER specialists, from pararescue operators to the people flying the helicopters and the C-130s and the rescue triad. This is an entire team event, and they've been training their entire lives to do it.
Aaron, thank you for your service. We so appreciate you, sir. If Iran had the pilot or knew the pilot was deceased, wouldn't they be using that for propaganda purposes?
I believe that to be so. Every reporting that I'm seeing leads me to believe that this pilot is doing exactly what he is supposed to do in his evasion action plan. That can include communicating on encrypted radios, performing specific things, specific actions in specific terrain in order to let the rescue forces know that he's ready for pickup and he's alive. If Iran had him, he would be the biggest propaganda tool in this war, and we would see it break everywhere immediately, which leads me to believe that this American is fighting on the ground, doing what he's supposed to do, and having the actions exactly what it needs to be to give time for those rescue forces to locate and recover him.
Aaron, Tom Shalhoub here. Most of people like me, what we know about these situations comes from the movies, right? We watch Top Gun. There's a great movie called Behind Enemy Lines with Owen Wilson, where he's behind enemy lines. It's this kind of situation. What is this down pilot doing? Do they tell him to stay put and hide, or do they, in the movies, they always go somewhere. They say, you got to get to the Bravo location, and then that's the movie. They're traveling there. But is it, obviously, you don't know what he's doing, but is it mostly stay put and hide, or is it get on the ground to some location?
The Air Force Survival, Evasion, Resistance, and Escape Specialist that we have, it's a specific career field. They develop intricate plans for what he's supposed to do immediately after he hits the ground, and then for a certain amount of hours after that. And then it transitions to long-term. Holding up or hiding in terrain, if he feels like he's safe, he can make that decision on the ground. But there is a very, very detailed plan for exactly what he's supposed to do, exactly how to communicate, exactly how to act, how to move, and how to react if somebody were to walk up on him. Not only does he know that, but the rescue forces know it as well. It's how we can expect to find him in specific areas that our intelligence folks have said would be safer to go. It could be as simple as walk west until you hit a body of water, and we will be there to pick you up. But these plans are intricate, they're highly protected, and the rescue forces know those plans as well. So this gentleman on the ground can make a number of different options inside of that plan, whatever gets him back to friendly control.
Aaron, just real quickly, as we're all watching this, we look at the timeline, and we, as civilians, don't necessarily know what that means, that there hasn't been the second rescue. Can you take us into that just briefly on how we should be looking at the timeline and how long something like this you would anticipate it to take?
So this can happen from minutes, like we saw with the first F-15 pilot that was recovered. The A-10 pilot was recovered in the same amount of minutes. It was very, very short. But if you look at classic rescue examples of Captain Scott O'Grady, he spent 8 days on the ground evading before he was rescued. There's a lot of calculus that goes into these decisions. They want to make sure that we maximize our advantage. Unfortunately, the illumination in the south of Iran tonight is going to be pretty bright, 93 to 95%. We would love cloud cover. We would love completely dark illumination because we can maximize our advantage of night vision and the other intricate suites of operating systems that we have. So that all plays into it. The only thing that I can tell you about that calculus is that the teams right now, from the helicopter pilots to the CROWs, combat rescue officers, and the pararescuemen, they are speaking in a unified voice, and they are giving one message to everybody up the chain, and that's send us. Send us right now.
Master Sergeant Aaron Love, thank you so much for joining us tonight. And of course, thank you for your service.
Thank you. You were worth it. That others may live.
Love it. He gave us a lot of information, Rich. I'm kind of wondering, besides the whole rescue operation, we know we got the best of the best that are doing this. I have full faith in their capabilities and their abilities. How does this change the political conversation and the narrative back home? If they rescue the second crew member, I think maybe things go on as planned. But if there's not a rescue, or if he does fall into enemy hands, that definitely changes the conversation back home.
Oh, it does. It's enormously consequential. It's also enormously consequential for the negotiations that are ongoing with the Iranians right now, if they are ongoing or to what extent they are. The Iranian government has loved taking Americans hostages, even before this latest shooting has happened. I actually went on an Iranian hostage exchange in Switzerland under the first Trump administration. It's not the first time that the federal government of the United States has had to trade to get Americans back from Iran. Now there is an actual conflict ongoing. There are or were actual discussions ongoing, and this would be a terrific, for the Iranians, leverage point to have. So it's very, very important for this service member and also for the discussions that he makes it out of Iran.
Certainly. Lisa, is this a setback? Is this a hiccup? Or does it just feel larger because we don't accept, any snafus? We've had this expectation that because everything has gone so well, we expect it to continue to go perfectly. It doesn't always happen that way in conflict. But how big of a deal is this in the national conversation around this conflict?
I mean, maybe all of the above, right? Can I choose like option D or whatever, option C, whatever it is? Obviously, President Trump went out and gave a speech and told us that Iran's military has largely been degraded, but clearly Iran still has some capabilities if they were able to take down this aircraft and we have a missing pilot. So that does sort of complicate the narrative there, but that doesn't mean that we haven't done a lot of harm to Iran's abilities. I just think the question here to me is, will the American people accept just degrading Iran's nuclear capabilities and military infrastructure as enough? Because clearly they haven't been completely neutralized. And how do we completely neutralize absent of like a full-blown ground invasion, which I don't think is going to be acceptable to the American people? And I think the challenge with Iran is this decentralized structure that they seem to have, this mosaic structure that they have, where they have decentralized commanders throughout the country and all these different provinces, and they have military assets distributed across the country as well, particularly in